Well, friends, welcome to our podcast. If you are a subscriber, you're going to see this probably a couple of days later. This is going to be an early release for early access for members. I have seen a lot of questions on the comment section. Of course, our members are asking sensible questions most of the times, but there are the usual suspects who ask the same questions again and again. So I thought that I'll take this opportunity to create a podcast which involves slightly less effort than creating a video. So it enables me to respond quickly. So I thought I'll make this brief podcast and get some points across. I'm going to talk today about two therapies which are of very big interest to our viewer group. The first one is EBT-101 and the second one is AGT103-T. So when we talk about EBT-101, it's a FIH open label sequential cohort single ascending dose study of EBT-101 administered IV to aviremic HIV-1 infected adults on stable ART. And in the phase 1 study, participants will be asked to attend several visits for screening to determine eligibility. On day 1, eligible participants will receive a single IV dose of EBT-101. All participants will be assessed for eligibility for an analytical treatment interruption or ATI of their background ART at week 12. All participants will be followed through week 48, that is the end of study. Participants are required to attend multiple study visits at the clinical site, including daily visits for the first 14 days, followed by weekly visit after week 12 for ATI participants. Non-ATI participants are followed monthly after week 12. So this is the basic protocol. Eligible participants who are enrolled in the FIH study will also be enrolled in a separate long-term follow-up study for EBT-101-002 for safety monitoring. And the duration of the long-term study is 15 years. And to give you a perspective of where we are, we can say that the first patient for EBT-101 phase 1 was dosed around July 2022 to the best of my knowledge. Now here are the common questions that I anticipate and I find in the comment section more often, and I'm answering them to the best of my abilities. The first question generally is, when will phase 2 start? I don't know when the phase 2 is going to start. We'll have to see how phase 1 unwinds, and we'll have to see what kind of data comes out of it, how the patients respond, and if FDA has any queries. So the short answer is we don't know when phase 2 will start, because we don't know when phase 1 is going to end. Next question that comes across is, will EBT-101 need phase 2B or more phases? My answer is that no one knows. Even Excision Bio may not know it right now, neither would the FDA. Everything depends on how patients in the clinical trial react and how the proceedings unfold. So we'll have to wait and watch. The other question that I usually get is, when will it be approved? Again, it all depends on the clinical trial proceeding, how it goes, how many phases are there, is it going to require more than 2 phases, how the patient react. All of those things will have to be factored in. And then the other question which I get very often, and I have modified the question to address a wider audience, is, when will it come to India, Africa, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh? Well, it's almost impossible to say. First, it has to get approved. In order to get approved, it has to clear phase 1 of clinical trial and phase 2 of clinical trial. And FDA has to decide that 2 phases are enough and there is no need for a pivotal study, or there is no need for phase 3. So we need to have all those things happening before we can say when it will come to any of the other countries. But I would definitely say that if it's a good cure, many governments and the World Health Organization will be very keen to subsidize and make it available to extended populations. The next question is, how much will it cost? I really have no clue how much it's going to cost because I don't understand what's the logistic based on what information is available outside. So I think we will have to wait for all these things. We have to be patient. This is a difficult disease to cure, and we are at a very advanced technology at this point of time. We are using advanced technology to tackle this. So we need to show a little more patience and give the scientists some more time to get this through all the clinical trials and get it ready for the market for approval. And around that time we'll have a better idea of what it's going to cost, because the manufacturing cost of course has to be recovered for the concern to be a going concern, and there has to be some return on investments as well. So pricing is something which is a philosophical question when it comes to these kind of therapies. So we'll leave it for another day. Now, the other question is, how does EBT-101 work? Well, it uses a modified CRISPR-Cas9 along with 2 guide RNA loaded into a adeno-associated virus, or AAV. The 2 guide RNAs provide targets to snip the HIV virus. As per Excision, they say that they snip out the gene for the GAG protein from the HIV genome. So initially I thought that they were snipping out the trimer, which consists of GP120, GAG protein 120, and GP41. But now I think they are snipping out the gene that produces the GAG polyprotein that is instrumental in cleaving the constituent GAG proteins to create new HIV copies within the cell. We'll find out when we hear more from Excision Bio. Now, the next question I come across is around AGT103-T. Now for some points around AGT103-T. AGT103-T is a modified CD4 T cell that does not have the CCR5, and it also has a short interrupting RNA inside, which can interrupt the HIV virus when it tries to reverse transcribe and form cRNA or complementary RNA in order to create a HIV DNA for insertion into the human DNA. So this gives an army of HIV immune CD4 T cell which can continue fighting HIV and killing them, and it has the capability of introducing functional cure. Having completed phase 1 clinical trials, AdImmune is now developing the protocol for a planned phase 2 trial of AGT103-T and is working to identify manufacturers and trial sites. We hope to initiate the phase 2 clinical trial as soon as the new protocol is approved. That's what Jeff Galvin said, and he also added that pending FDA approval of the phase 2, data collection should complete in the late 2024 and early 2025. So friends, that is the time frame that we have from Jeff Galvin. The phase 2 trial will apply the treatment regimen developed for AGT103-T for an expanded trial that is expected to treat between 50 and 100 patients, with the aim of establishing efficacy levels that would justify a pivotal study. AdImmune also envisions conducting additional clinical trials towards commercialization by demonstrating improved outcomes and quality of life for people living with HIV. Now, people ask in the comment section, why can't AGT103-T get fast track designation like EBT-101? Well, it all depends on FDA, and they may as well get it, but we don't know. That's the short answer. The second question I usually get is, when will FDA finish phase 2 and will they need more phases? Again, even AGT or FDA possibly do not know this and will have to wait for clinical trial outcomes before making a decision. And the other question I get is, we thought AGT103-T is once and done cure. Now it seems like it is once in every 6 months. What exactly is the deal? Well, we know how AGT103-T works. It will all depend on how long the modified CD4 T cells remain viable in the body. In their latest press release announcing the launch of AdImmune, they mentioned that in phase 1 trials, they saw active immune response for up to 6 months. The way I look at it is that even dosing every 6 months is better than daily ART. And secondly, when a company makes statements for investment purposes, they are very careful and conservative. If you want to find out that AGT103-T is a lifelong cure, we'll need a longer clinical trial to observe patients for a longer period of time to see exactly how long those modified CD4 T cells are viable. So instead of assuming anything, I would say that we have to wait for AdImmune to address this question, and they will be the most reliable source of information. And I think we got to be patient here. The next question I have is, when will FDA approve AGT103-T? Answer is, we don't know. However, Jeff Galvin did say that he's ready for pivotal trials if required. Pivotal trials are typically designed and conducted to address specific questions related to the product's safety, efficacy, dosing, and potential benefits compared to existing treatments or a placebo. These trials are often larger and more rigorous than earlier phase trials, and they are intended to provide statistically robust data to support the manufacturer's claims about the product's therapeutic benefits. So basically the answer is, we don't know. I don't know if Jeff is going to get the opportunity to do a pivotal trial, or maybe he gets approval even before that. We don't know. So we'll have to wait for phase 2 to get started. And then I have the next question: how can I take part in the trials? Now I'm addressing this for both EBT-101 as well as AGT103. All I would say is that check out the website of Excision Bio and AdImmune and write to them. And if they decide to include you in the trial, all the best. Generally, trials may be held in geographies where they have arrangements to control and prove the implementation and results to the FDA. Also, there would be requirements in the trial to have diversity. So the respective companies would know better, and they would be able to answer your question better. So I always say, do not hesitate. Just go to their website, have a look at it, and they may have some forms to submit for volunteering, and you never know, you may get selected. So I would recommend that check out their websites. So, well, friends, that's all I wanted to communicate to you. I hope you found value in this podcast. I think the podcast is the easiest way to answer commonly asked questions and fill in the gaps between all the videos that we do. So that's all for now. And please let me know what you think about the podcast. Should I do more of these podcasts in between videos in order to fill up the gaps and kind of respond to the comments that come in between? With that said, I'd like to end this podcast. Friends, have a great day, and I'll catch up with you again. Bye for now.